The mood tracker is something normally we do in the spring. The mood tracker is something we normally do after the spring, but the mood tracker is something we need to do tonight. And we need to direct the mood tracker right in Tallahassee, Florida at Florida State football. Some people say it's better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all. It may be true in the movies, but it is not true in recruiting. Because I can assure you that Florida State fans, 10 times out of 10, would rather have never heard the name Travis Hunter than to have gone through what they've gone through this past week. Quick recap. Close your ears if you are a Florida State fan. That, if you're looking on your screen right now, is the number one player in the country. He was committed to Florida State. It feels like forever. And then on signing day, he says, never mind, I'm going to go to where? Jackson State. And he tossed the Florida State hat for good measure, which I've never been a fan of. Anyway, there's Travis Hunter. He's out of here now. Now I'm going to say something out loud. So I want you to pretend like you don't really know a whole lot. Let's just pretend you're an agnostic fan. You watch every now and then if college football's on at a bar, but you don't really follow it day to day. I'm going to read a scenario out here to you. I wrote it down. I want you to tell me off the top of your head, if you're just a casual fan out there, not a casual in the classical sense, but a casual fan, how would you feel about this? Let's say your team goes 5-7, and then you land the number 14 recruiting class in the country. My reaction, if I didn't know any better, would be, well, that's not that bad. It's actually much better than I thought we'd do after going 5-7. I think that would be a lot of your responses. But here is the problem. When we zoom in, we get a little bit more down in the weeds. We have not factored in for what we on this show call the recalibration of expectation. That's kind of like Michigan State football this year. Michigan State's over-under win total was 4.5. Yet they get to like the 8 or 9 win mark, and they're being told once they lose to Ohio State, they were frauds. No, they were never frauds if you viewed it through the proper lens. But when Michigan State got on into the season a little ways, you get to a certain point where people forget what the initial expectation was, and they recalibrate the expectation, thus the recalibration of expectation. And then all of a sudden, they're saying stupid things about Michigan State. Well, Florida State fans, if you never had heard the name Travis Hunter, and let's just pretend like you guys landed a lot of kids late and you finished strong and then you landed the number 14 class, kind of did what Auburn did. I mean, Auburn and Florida State have comparable classes. They just didn't close in anywhere close to the same manner. Well, if you did what Auburn did and you never had Travis Hunter, this would be an acceptable class. You'd want a few more pieces, but it would be acceptable. But you had long since recalibrated your expectations, and you had baked Travis Hunter in to even the worst case scenario. Losing Travis Hunter was not possible. That was beyond the worst case scenario. So when you lost him, it's a disaster. It is essentially, it puts you in such a shaken mentality that you don't know which end is up. And the mood there, I wrote down, it's kind of the post-impact assessment. If you've ever been in a wreck, I'm talking about the seconds after you've been in a wreck and you still got the steering wheel gripped tight. It's not bad enough to where you're knocked out, but you got in a wreck and it's shaken you and only a few seconds have gone by. You could be anywhere from looking at just a badly dented car to it's totaled and I hear the ambulance on the way. I'm about to spend a week in the hospital. You are still assessing post-impact. Well, with Florida State, graphic though that may have been, Florida State fans, they don't really know what to make of this yet. And I got several of them. I've had to talk a couple of them off the ledge just today. I told them I was going to do this segment. It's post-impact, and this gutted Florida State. It gutted the coaching staff. They didn't see it coming. They got blindsided by it, and anyone who's too prideful to admit otherwise is lying to you. Now, they've owned it, and they've taken it in stride, but it is gutting because you're not sure of anything. It's like people taking the rug out from under you. It's like if you never believed in aliens and then you saw a flying saucer land in your front yard tomorrow morning, you're not sure of anything anymore. They're not sure of anything down there right now. But it doesn't mean all is lost. This class is not ranked 38th. It's ranked 14th, and they still got the transfer portal to go. The problem and the reason that they're so shaken, aside from the obvious, is there could be bigger implications here. You start to convince yourself, if you're not careful, if you're not mentally tough, you start to convince yourself, well, if we're capable of losing that guy, no one's ever secure anymore. And if we're not capable of locking him down, and we lost him to Jackson State, like we didn't lose him to a program, I'm just going to state it like it is, to a program that we think we should lose a kid to. You know, if Georgia came along and got him, it would be terrible, but at least we'd understand. We let Deion come and take him from us. I don't care what the circumstances were. I'm speaking as a Florida State fan now. We let Deion take him from us. Never should happen. And we certainly should have an idea. Whether that's fair or not, you know good and well that's how a lot of you guys down there feel. I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying, that's the way it is. So given where we are right now in the sort of post-impact assessment portion of the recovery process, how Mike Norvell handles the transfer portal over the coming months will define the future of his program and his tenure at that program. And to be clear, there's several holes that need to be patched. This is well beyond just a Travis Hunter thing. They were going to have to do this even if they landed Hunter. But now there's a magnifying glass on the program. They got to get defensive line help. They got to get wide receiver help, probably a couple of them. Need help on the offensive line at the tackle and guard positions. They need linebacker help. Now the good news is there are options. As I said, there are roughly 47 million kids in the transfer portal right now. There will be options. They've got to hit on all of them. They've got to pull a Michigan State. They've got to hit on all of them, and then they certainly have to upgrade their staff. I was over on Knowles 24/7 today. I was looking at Brendan Sonnone doing a long-form thread, just kind of an Ask Me Anything thread, and they were talking a lot about this. What has to change? It's not one answer. It's not one sentence. It's a lot of, if this, and this happen, then maybe you're looking at an 8 or 9 win campaign. But if all those things don't coalesce and come together, then you're talking about stuff that you don't want to be talking about. Hot seat talk, is it time to make a move, all that stuff that we've been speaking about so much with other programs recently. You don't want to get there. But here's what else they know. If you're looking around and you're looking at more than just Florida State football, you're looking at Clemson and you're seeing a program that seems as vulnerable as they've been in several years. What you absolutely cannot afford to let happen is Mario Cristobal and Miami to get their wheels under them, which they will. And you can't afford to watch programs like North Carolina get distance on you. You can't allow that to happen. Because if Clemson's vulnerable, it's got to be you. It's got to be you involved with those other programs. If it's Clemson vulnerable and there are 3 or 4 teams challenging, FSU's logo's got to be in one of those blanks. If it's not, that's your worst fear. That's your worst case scenario. That's what they're unsure of right now. That's why they're in the post-impact assessment portion of the recovery process. And I don't know how long that's going to last. I tend to believe it'll last even past spring, up to and maybe including media days and right before camp opens, because that's how late in the game they're going to be working that portal to see what kind of immediate additions and help that they can get out of there.